Hello everyone and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. And in today's video, we're going to be going over perhaps the most corrupted creature to ever lay hands on the One Ring. Today we are talking about Smeagol, but better known perhaps as Gollum. So we have a lot to uncover, so without further ado, let's get into the story. Smeagol was a hobbit of Riverland, of the Store kind, who lived on the banks of the Anduin in the later Third Age. Smeagol belonged to the reputable family of the stern and wise matriarch. He spent the early years of his life living with his exiled family during the Watchful Peace, when Sauron was in the east. He had some amount of education in lore, and during his youth he had learned of the events concerning the War of the Last Alliance against Sauron. He also knew the riddle game and riddles that were known to their cousins in the Shire. Around the year 2463 of the Third Age, on his birthday, his friend and close relative, Deagle, offered him a cheap present. Later that day, they went boating in the Gladden Fields, and as Smeagol was nosing on the bank, Deagle was pulled into the water by a large fish, and found a gold ring. Smeagol demanded the ring as a birthday present, and strangled Deagle when he refused, and hid his body. Smeagol became the fourth ring bearer, after Sauron, Isildur and Deagle. After this event, he returned home and understood he was invisible. He kept his treasure a secret and used it in malicious ways, to see and hear secrets and hurtful things, and was corrupted further by the ring. Soon he became unpopular and his peers avoided him. They often cursed and kicked him, and he bit their feet. Becoming a loner, he muttered to himself and gurgled in his throat, for which they called him Gollum, and he survived by stealing. Eventually, even his grandmother, desiring peace, banished him from their family and hobbit hole. Sad for the hard world, he wandered in loneliness up the river, and followed a stream. He spent time by the deep pools, aided by the invisibility of the ring. He caught fish that he ate raw. Sometime later, eventually forgotten by him, the sun started to scorch his skin and eyes, and as he looked up, he noticed the misty mountains from which the stream ran down. He decided to go there. In the desirable darkness, safe from the scorching sun, with more roots and secrets to discover there, he climbed up the highlands and wormed into the little cave out of which the stream flowed. The ring's malignant influence twisted his hobbit body and mind and prolonged his life far beyond its natural limits. The murder of Deagle haunted him, and as a psychological defense, he repeated to it that it turned up for him on his birthday as a birthday present and as his precious. Gollum lived longer than any other hobbit could, and for over 400 years he managed to live on a small island surrounded by a subterranean lake. He preyed upon any raw fish that he caught from his small raft, though sometimes he managed to catch goblins from the nearby goblin town. In later years he found hobbits and elven food repulsive. The ring's corrupted influence, as well as centuries of isolation in the Misty Mountains, took a deep toll on him, both physically and mentally. He became disfigured and grotesque in appearance, and by the time he met the hobbit Bilbo Baggins, he was affected with almost complete madness. In July of 2941 of the Third Age, during the quest of Erebor, Bilbo stumbled upon Gollum's lake and found the ring. Gollum had lost the ring in the network of caves leading him to the lake, though in fact is more proper to say that the ring abandoned Gollum, for it was known to have a will of its own. As Gandalf said later, the necromancer was becoming more powerful, and it was a good time for the ring to change hands and get back to Sauron. While he was unaware of his loss, he met Bilbo Baggins, who was lost, and it's possible that Gollum's own part of his mind was pleased to hear again that reminded him of the outside world, but this also made his evil part angrier. After the famous riddle game, Gollum refused to show Bilbo the promised way out and plotted to murder him. When he went to get his birthday present, however, he found that it was gone. He suddenly realised the answer to Bilbo's last riddle, "What have I got in my pocket?" and became furious. Bilbo inadvertently stumbled across the ring's power of invisibility as he ran, allowing him to follow Gollum to the entrance of the cave. There, Bilbo at first thought of killing Gollum, but was overcome with pity, so he jumped over him to escape. As Bilbo ran, Gollum cried out, "Thief! Thief! Baggins! We hates it forever. He stayed 2 more years in the mountains, although he was disgusted by the empty night, nasty fugitive eating and resentful remembering. He hated darkness, light and the ring most of all, but his addiction to it was great. In fact, it was so great that it overcame his hatred for the fear of the light and the orcs, so he left in pursuit of Bilbo, but the trail was cold. Hiding from the sun and moon, quickly and silently he moved by night, hunting small creatures. As the ring was no longer devoted to him, he was a bit revived, and new food and air made him stronger. He followed Bilbo's trail through Mirkwood, and even reached Esgaroth and Dale. Spying on the men of Dale, he learned more and more about the thief and where he was from. Then apparently he decided to turn back and go west to find the thief, again through Mirkwood. The elves of Mirkwood, apparently cooperating with Gandalf, tracked him. His presence terrified the beasts and birds, as he ate the eggs of the young animals that nested in holes. He even broke into houses and approached cradles of babies of the woodmen, who spoke about a blood-drinking ghost, until he reached again the Great River. Then, for some reason, as the wood elves say, he turned southwards and his traces were lost. And then Gandalf neglected the manor because he had such else to think of at the time, which was a great mistake because it was the same year when Sauron declared himself openly and Gollum turned towards Mordor. 30 years later, he reached the confines of Mordor and met Shelob, who would help him take his revenge. As he ventured into Mordor, he was captured by Sauron, and for the next years he was forced to reveal what he knew about the ring. Thus Sauron's spies learned from him that the One Ring was found, and the name Shire and Hobbits was mentioned. Meanwhile, Gandalf suspected that Bilbo's ring was one of the Rings of Power, and changed his plan to resume his search for Gollum, and that was in vain, as his tracks had been too old now, and of course because Gollum was in Mordor. By 3017 of the Third Age, Gollum was set free, only to be caught at last by Aragorn on the skirts of the Dead Marshes. After many perils, Aragorn led and turned him over to Gandalf. Gollum whined and cringed and licked his wounded hands and fingers. The wizard attempted to interrogate him. Among Gollum's growling, snorting, cursing and lies, Gandalf endured many weary days. He had to threaten him with fire and managed to learn of the story he didn't know bit by bit. But Gollum didn't say much after the departure of Bilbo, as he feared Mordor more. Gollum felt misunderstood and ill-treated, exiled into a hole and then robbed, and spoke about revenge thanks to his new friends. Gandalf placed him in the care of the Sylvan Elves, living in Thranduil's woodland realm of Mirkwood. In June of 3018 of the Third Age, orcs raided the Elves of Mirkwood in an obviously coordinated attack, allowing Gollum to escape. He resumed his search for the ring, and presumably he decided to hide in Moria in August, in order to lose his pursuers. However, he could not open the doors of Durin from the inside, so he didn't exit into Eriador to reach the Shire. Presumably he stayed there for months, until the Fellowship of the Ring entered Moria from the door on the 13th of January of the next year, and Gollum picked up the trail of the new ring-bearer, Frodo Baggins. As they travelled through Moria, 2 days later, Gandalf was lost while fighting the Balrog and breaking the bridge of Khazad-dûm. It is unknown how he crossed the chasm or the bridge, but he came with them to Lothlorien without their knowing, hiding somewhere around the shores of the Anduin. Gollum spied their departure and floated on a log, followed their boats down the Anduin to Rhuros. He pursued Frodo and Sam across the MMIII when they struck out on their own towards Mordor. Gollum followed them, but after a confrontation, in which he bit and nearly strangled Sam, Frodo subdued him. Frodo tied an elvish rope around Gollum's ankle for a leash, but the mere touch of rope pained him. Taking pity on the wretched creature, Frodo made Gollum swear to help him, agreeing to an oath. Gollum swore by the precious itself, and Frodo released him. The unlikely company, guided by Gollum, made their way to the Black Gate and to the entrance to Mordor. Frodo's kindness brought out the Smeagol personality, and he made at least some effort to keep his promise. The two had a strange sort of bond, for both having been ring-bearers. In Gollum, Frodo saw a possible future, and so he wanted to save him to save himself. Gollum also feared Frodo, and also thought that helping him would deprive Sauron of the ring. When the Black Gate was reached and found to be well guarded, Gollum convinced them to go another way, saying that they would be caught and Sauron would regain the ring. Gollum said he would lead them south, where he knew of another entrance into Mordor. Frodo and Sam were caught by Faramir, and Gollum followed them, getting caught in the forbidden pool beneath Hen Annuin. When Frodo allowed Faramir to briefly take Smeagol prisoner, he felt betrayed, allowing the Gollum personality to take control once again. Faramir found out that the place Gollum was taking them was called Cirith Ungol. He then warned Frodo of the evil of that place. Frodo, Sam and Gollum left Faramir and began crossing the path to Cirith Ungol in the bordering mountains of the Ethelduath. On the 11th of March, Gollum visited the great spider Shelob, because he was planning to betray the hobbits to her, and then get the ring for himself. When he returned, the hobbits were asleep. The sight of Frodo sleeping nearly moved Gollum to repent. However, Sam woke up and spoke harshly to Gollum, and all hope of redemption was lost. Gollum followed through with his plan, and led Frodo and Sam into Shelob's lair. For this service to Shelob, the orcs of Cirith Ungol knew Gollum as her sneak. Just as Frodo warned him, Gollum's betrayal of his oath ultimately led to his undoing, for Frodo and Sam escaped from Shelob's lair and came against all odds to the volcanic Mount Doom. Gollum followed them all the way, seeking a chance to surprise them and take the ring. When Frodo and Sam had almost reached their destination, he attacked, but failed to get the ring. Sam, who had hated Gollum on sight, tried to bring himself to kill him, but relented out of sheer pity and disgust, turning his back on the beaten creature. Mere moments later, Frodo was standing on the edge of the cracks of doom, but unwilling to destroy the ring, claiming it for himself as he put it on. It was then that Gollum attacked again. The two fought whilst Frodo was invisible, and finally Gollum bit off Frodo's finger, and in addition, the ring. Here Frodo's kindness in sparing Gollum was rewarded, for Gollum then tethered on the edge of the great pit, before he lost his balance and fell in, taking the ring and finger with him with a final last cry of "Precious." Had Gollum not lived to play the final part there would have been a good chance that Sauron would have regained the ring, as he knew where Frodo was as soon as he put the ring on. There go. Despite his corrupt desires, his final act of rash decision-making, of doing anything to regain his precious ring, ended up saving the free people of Middle-earth from Sauron's corrupted rule. This is the story of Smeagol, the Store Hobbit, and Gollum, the corrupted creature. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like the video and leave a comment down below on anything that you'd like to see in the future. Anyway, that is it from me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.